Good morning, everyone. Our spring and summer garden are finishing up. Now I want to talk about what was a success and what failed this year. So let's go on in and let's take a look and I'll explain everything that happened in the garden this year. First thing you see when you walk in is our sweet potato vines. We generally do a grow of lettuce in here during spring, winter, and our fall seasons. We didn't have anything planned for the summer, so we decided to occupy this space with a bunch of sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are looking nice and green. They're starting to flow out over the sides. We got some bug damage in there, and I haven't tried to control the bug damage this year just because the sweet potato vines seem to be outgrowing the bug damage. If you come on over, you notice this big behemoth that's taken over this end of the garden, and this is cassava. David the Good, which lives just a few miles down the road from us, gave me a cutting of cassava this year, and I decided to just try to get it rooted. And when I did, it seemed to have taken off. So it looks like it has really dominated this end of the bed. I'm not sure how our sweet potatoes are going to do this year since they're running in competition with our cassava root. And then off in the back, I've got some little potted angel trumpets, and they're starting to bloom. They look really pretty whenever they do bloom. But I didn't plan on that being a permanent home. I was just trying to get them some sun, and they look like they're doing pretty well in the garden there. Our other raised bed over here, nothing but sweet potatoes. We have over 40 sweet potatoes in the garden this year. Now let's go ahead on down the side of the garden over here, and let's talk about everything as we go this way. These were some peppers that I started from seed, and I put these out. This was the one that I held over through the winter, and they don't look to be doing that good. And I think it's because they don't like this landscape fabric. I think the landscape fabric needs to come out away from the peppers, and I think that's some of the thing I'm going to do immediately so that we can at least get a late summer harvest of peppers going. I had some peppers coming up from seed in that corner, and they seem to be doing really well. So we'll see. Now on this side of the garden over here, after we took our broccoli out, we went back in with some butter beans. Nice and loaded with all these blooms. We've got some little butter beans that are coming on, so in another couple of days we're going to be picking butter beans. And we got our butter bean sheller, and I'm excited to use that this year. And we're also going to be demonstrating making a butter bean sheller, so anyone at home that doesn't like shelling butter beans like I don't, you can make one of these little butter bean shellers that'll do the job for you. But everything looks good. Now I had a broccoli plant that I held over, and I was going to let flower out and harvest the seeds from. And after the broccoli head came up like it was getting ready to bloom, it never bloomed. We got one chicken out there just throwing a fit. I think she's going to have to go bye-bye. Yeah. But our broccoli never bloomed. It never set seed. It was a complete failure on the seed saving. So it never produced an edible head, and then it turned around and never produced a seed head for us. All right, now in this corner, if you watch our tomato video, we took our auger and we went 3 feet down in the dirt with compost, and we put this triple crop tomato in here, and it did wonderful. And I trained it up to a trellis support system, and it looks like it got about 8 foot tall. And we got some nice big tomatoes on it. It did really well, and then the 100-degree summer heat set in, and then all the tomatoes stopped. And we did okay with this one. The other ones, not so much. Our Amish paste tomatoes, they did absolutely nothing this year. We got like 3 or 4 tomatoes off of them altogether. But I think the weed fabric that I put down was a hindrance. So I don't think we're going to do that in the future. Now let's talk about the string trellis. If you watched our string trellis video, this is the follow-up to our string trellis. When you're pruning your tomatoes and you're bringing your plants up, the idea is to lower the trellis down to keep your tomato harvest right here within reach. We never really got a chance to do that. Our tomatoes didn't really climb up out of reach. So training them to this string, I don't think was the best decision for us. One, when you're starting to prune all those suckers off, your bush gets smaller. We had larger tomatoes, but we didn't have as many tomatoes this year as we typically have because we pruned our tomato plants down. And I don't think that's something that I want to do in the future. I think I'm going back to putting up some type of big steel cage and letting them just bush out and just let them do their thing. And I think we got the spacing right. Give them plenty of space so the air flows around it to keep the disease down. We did okay in that area. But the string thing, I just don't think that was the best for us. So all these tomatoes are going to be coming out real soon, and we're probably going to be going back in with a cabbage or a broccoli or something like that within the next month whenever it's time to start putting our fall garden in. We got some butter peas coming on over here. It's all bloomed out. We planted them at the same time as the butter beans, and they're looking really good. So maybe we'll have some butter peas. And then this is our Tabasco pepper. Every year we have a Tabasco pepper that comes back from a fallen seed, and I always let one grow out, and they always do well growing in this one general area. But I've had Tabasco peppers ever since the day we've moved in, growing in the garden here. Now this was pink-eyed purple whole peas. We did a harvest last weekend out here. We got a nice good crop off of them. They're still blooming, they're still doing good. We have another 1 or 2 pickings that we expect to get off this crop. Tomatoes over here, finishing up. This was Mr. Stripey, some seed that I had saved from a previous tomato. And as you can tell, it's looking halfway decent compared to the other ones. Now, when I say compared, is that it seems like the seed that we saved from the plants that were grown in our area overall performed better. So if you have an opportunity to save some seed from a variety that you like, I would encourage you to do that. They seem to be a little more resilient to the climate that you're growing in. We harvested our blue corn out here. We did a video on that. This is a seed that came back from our pepper plant. I don't know what variety this is. I'm really curious to see. The plant that we had here last year was an unknown, and so these are going to be an unknown from that, and I'm really excited to see what variety we end up getting. Now, we also, when we were picking our corn, we talked about what was going on over here. This is an heirloom variety of a dent corn. It's 12 foot tall. I got ears that are coming out way up here. We had a nice strong wind come through and it knocked down a bunch of our corn, broke it in half, so I started clearing some of that out of there. But we had a few stalks to remain, and I'm going to let those finish out, and then we're going to at least get enough that we can save seed for this for next year's planting. So all the empty beds that you see, we're going to be going back in real soon with broccoli and cabbages. This is the worst year we ever had for Cherokee tan pumpkins. So worst year for tomatoes, worst year for pumpkins. Cherokee tan pumpkin, I did end up getting some damage from squash vine borer. It's known to be very resilient to the squash vine borer, but they actually got to this one. I got a few pumpkins off here, and so at least we're going to have some type of a harvest this year of pumpkins, but it looks like the bugs have gotten to quite a few of them. Trellis beans over there starting to rebloom, so we expect to get some more rattlesnake green beans off of those before we tear those out. But that's another thing we got to do. We got to replant our green beans. We don't have enough of a harvest this year that we typically require to get us through next year. All right, guys. Well, that's the quick down and dirty tour of the garden. I know it's not much to look at, but the temperature is getting up into 100 degrees, and once you get past 85, the garden really starts to suffer. And as you can see here, the garden is starting to suffer, except for our field corn and our peas, which absolutely love this heat. We've already started our broccoli and cabbages, so we're going to grow those out in trays for a month or so and try to get those in the ground just about the time that the heat breaks. And then we're going to also start getting our onions ready soon too, and watch for those videos too. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and follow what we're doing here. We appreciate having you. I hope you continue to follow us. And don't forget, keep growing, keep building, and always keep adventuring. And together, we're Farmington Famous. We'll see you next time.